All right, welcome back to the second part of our Working with Buyers training for today, guys. We're moving forward into our role play. We've gone through our Porterhouse home buyer consultation, and there are several pages that are extremely crucial for you to separate yourself as a real estate professional. Those pages are going to cover why the buyer wants to buy a home in the first place. There are components there that we've educated that buyer on, from improving the quality of their life, tax deductibility of the mortgage interest, and so forth and so on. There's also the home buying process that we're going to cover, which includes our Porterhouse 1031 formula and what that means in terms of helping that buyer to be successful in purchasing a home. We're going to go through the expenses involved with buying a home as well. And then lastly, we're going to end at the 10 commandments, things to do, not to do when buying a house. So these are the items that we're going to role play on today. Curtis, you'll role play with Kristen, and then you'll role play with Joy. You ladies can flip a coin if you'd like to see who'll go first with Curtis, but let's go ahead and dive into this information and let's start role playing today, because these are the items that we're going to need to cover when we're doing an effective buyer consultation. And for the record, I want to reiterate, this buyer consultation is what separates you as a real estate professional, and this is how you earn the business, okay? So as it pertains to getting your buyer agency document signed, and collecting expenses as a buyer's agent, those things are to be done after and only after you have earned the business through this buyer consultation. And you will be well aware whether your buyer consultation was effective based on the temperament of the buyer afterwards. And when you see that you've earned that buyer's trust, they now like you, they trust you, they believe you as a real estate professional, then they will be willing to pay your fee and they will be willing to sign off on your buyer brokerage agreement. So let's go ahead and get started. Curtis, you can go ahead and take it away.
Okay, so I'm gonna just because I see Joy's name first. So Joy, you can be the buyer that I'm working with, and I'll be doing the presentation. So at this point, Joy, so let me ask you, why do you actually want to buy a home?
I think the main reason I want to buy a home is because the amount of money that I'm paying in rent, I'm not getting any advantage for paying all this money.
Right.
Rent.
Yeah.
The amount that I could be paying in rent, I could be getting some kind of tax write-off or something at the end of the year. And then two, I need more space. So those are the kind of the two main reasons that I want to purchase a home.
Sure. I mean, that's the problem with paying rent is you just pay for the next month, and you get no benefit out of it except you just get to live there for another month. And I totally understand the need of more space, especially in the current climate that we find ourselves in. Having a little bit more room is always a benefit if you got to escape or get out of the area of the kids or what have you. So those are all definitely very beneficial reasons to move toward home ownership. So the next slide that I'm going to present to you is kind of going to address on some of those topics and issues that you were just talking about. So reasons to buy. So I'm not going to go through everything, but one of the main things is, like you were just saying, with more space, it's going to improve the quality of your life. There is a tax deductibility to the mortgage interest. There's also tax deductibility of property taxes. One of the nice things too that I really like is the appreciation of the potential real estate. So I know we're in the, in PG County. I don't know, have you ever been to National Harbor?
Yes, I have.
Okay, cool. Well, I don't know if you went back in the day when it was first built, but some of those townhouses that are like right in the prime area of the National Harbor were really going for sale, like around like $400,000. Those same units right now are about $1 million. And that's what appreciation can do. So those are the kind of things that being a homeowner is going to benefit you so much greatly, more so than renting. The other thing what kind of ties right into that appreciation is the deferred gain and capital gain treatment. So if you're single, basically you can get up to $250,000 in the sale of that property that won't be taxed. If you're a married couple, up to $500,000 that won't be taxed. So in the instance of the National Harbor folks, you know, we should be knocking on the doors of them like, hey, would you like to sell? Because if you bought it around 450, 500, you know, you could sell it for $1 million and not pay tax on $250,000 to $500,000. So those things too are like just the power and benefit of home ownership. The other thing too that I always like is the pride in your home. There's something just about owning the home, that it's yours. You know, you're gonna cut the grass, or, you know, I personally am a closet gardener. So it's something I love to do, is to go out in my yard and plant, you know, a lavender bush, or, you know, trim around. And, you know, I really enjoy my property. And there's no landlord, you know, I am the landlord. I'm the owner of my land, you know. So if I want to plant that lavender bush, I can, you know what I mean? So I know that it's kind of cut off at the bottom, but, you know, like number 11, like what you were mentioning about rent, you know, the amount of money that you're paying in rent, when you know, add that over time, it's tens of thousands of dollars every year that you get nothing for. You just get another month to stay there. So there's so much benefit with home ownership. And it's one of the things too that I just want to applaud you for taking that step and going down this path of buying, you know, your home. So Kristen, the next slide I would like to bring you into.
Mr. Curtis, I do have one question for you.
Absolutely.
In regards to the slide, I know we're not going in depth into a lot, but what does number 7 mean? What does principal accumulation mean?
So the accumulation,
I'm
sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying, within the slide, what I didn't really understand what that one meant.
Well, the accumulation is kind of what you're looking at accumulating over time with owning the property. So, you know, you're looking at essentially the accumulation of value. So just say you bought the property for 300 and now, you know, it's accumulated where you list it 5 years from now to 350,000.
So is this more
let me
Mm-hmm.
jump in there, guys. So the principal accumulation, what it essentially is talking about is the part of your mortgage that's the principal. And that's one of the reasons why Curtis, that I always introduce them to the 4 components of a mortgage, because that question can come up about the principal. So principal accumulation is basically different ways that we talk about that you can reduce the principal, and by reducing the principal, you can pay your mortgage off a lot quicker. In other words, you can pay down and make extra payments to principal over time. That's going to help reduce the amount of years that you're going to finance your mortgage.
So that's the pity. So you're
correct.
So
that's the P in the pity. Yeah.
Right. So the accumulation is basically, and real quick, y'all, this is why I get on the calls too, because I'm constantly learning. So the principal accumulation, you're looking at the more that essentially you're paying down the principal, so you're amortizing or killing the loan faster.
Correct. So anytime you have some extra money, even if you round up your mortgage, say for instance your mortgage is $366, you want to round it up to $370. Put the extra $4 on the principal portion of your mortgage. and you can assign it. And if you go into your mortgage, it actually will say, normally it'll say principal, interest, and escrow. And escrow just means your taxes and insurance, because that's what they do. They hold it and then they pay it out when it's due. So you want to make sure that you assign that $4 to go into the principal. You would be surprised at how much that extra $4 every month helps towards amortizing your mortgage.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Porter, I have a quick question. Does this also kind of coincide with the example that you gave on Thursday about basically paying your mortgage every 2 weeks?
So that's another strategy.
Okay.
But it doesn't, it's not directly tied to principal accumulation. The reason why we say principal accumulation is because you want to focus the client's attention on the fact that anytime that you can put any extra money into your mortgage, you always want to focus it to the principal. You don't want to just send it to the mortgage company and say, here's an extra $5, here's an extra $10, because then what they're going to do is distribute it, and they're going to pay that interest. They're going to pay some of their interest so that they can get paid first. You want to pay down that principal, because when you reduce the amount of principal, everything else is then affected. So you reduce the amount of principal that's paid on your property, then that means you're only paying the interest on the amount that you just reduced it to, as opposed to the amount that you first purchased it for. Does that make sense?
Yep, I got it. Thank you.
Yeah, so that you want to always amortize your mortgage. The quickest way to do it is to kill the principal.
Right. So we're going to go to the next slide. Anybody else have any questions or?
Yeah, is that, so that's like the same thing as like the equity that you have in the house? Like, is that the same?
No, so the principal, let's say it like this. You borrow $250,000 from the bank. You make your mortgage payments for the first year. Your principal, now you might only owe $244, because again, remember that money is distributed between interest, taxes, and insurance. So now you owe $244 on your house. That's the principal. The amount of equity is how much you own of your house.
Right.
So you don't own $240,000 worth of your house right now. The bank owns $244,000 of your house. If your house was to appraise at $250 or $255, then you own the difference between the $244, which is what you owe, and the $255. So you have $11,000 worth of equity. Now, every time you make a payment towards principal, yes, you are adding equity to what you own, because if you ever had your house appraised, or you wanted to get a cash out refinance, or you just decide to sell your home, then you already know essentially the difference from what you owe to what your house appraised for. And then that's some of the money that you could potentially get back. Now, of course, there are fees and other things that are going to be taken out if you decide to do refinance or sale. That means that you're not going to get that much, but that's how much equity, how much of your house that you actually own. So I want to own as much of my house as possible, as opposed to the bank owning that much of my house. So I'm going to put that money towards the principal as quickly as possible, because our interest is fixed. We have a fixed interest rate, which means, say for instance, I hit the lottery and I go in and pay that $240,000 today, then that's it. The interest I'm not going to continue to owe interest after I paid the mortgage off. I paid them, and I paid them sooner. They gave me up to 30 years. I didn't take the 30 years. That's good for me, bad for the bank.
Right.
So you want to attack the principal. That's what you want to really focus on with that bullet, that number 7 bullet.
Mr. Porter,
Yes, sir.
if you could, can you kind of give that quick synopsis that you gave on the tax, on how you, from the tax benefit on what you make on your taxes, how you can utilize that and parlay that into paying your mortgage and, paying it down, and almost not even have to pay a mortgage from the money that you're getting from the tax return.
Well,
you know what I'm talking about?
I know exactly what you're talking about, Cameron. And the great thing is that we went over that, I think, extensively on Thursday. So for the people that's on the call, they got it.
Okay.
But just to kind of put it in a nutshell, what we said is that if at the end of the day, with the taxes, you know, when you're paying a mortgage, about 80% of your mortgage is interest and taxes for the first 15 years of your mortgage. And what that means is that if you know, in the real world, if you didn't owe any taxes, then you should get a refund back. And depending on what that refund is, you can use that refund in a variety of ways to amortize your mortgage. You can take this refund if you get a $10,000, $20,000 check, and you throw it on the principal. You can reduce that principal rather quickly, and you can do that over and over year to year as long as you're not owing taxes to the IRS or to the state government. Okay, and then there's another thing you can do. You can put it into an account and then have the payments withdrawn from that account. So essentially, you're not paying mortgage for the first 3/4 of the year. Or you could take that same money that you get back from your tax deductibility of the interest and the taxes that they're paying for you, and you can go out and do some home improvements. You can, you know, you can spend it. You can do things to add value to your home. There's a lot of different things that you can do, but you want to prioritize. And I think the most important thing for you to try to prioritize is to pay that mortgage down. And when I say pay mortgage, I'm talking in specific about paying money on the principal, because that way you own more of your home. And no matter what you have to do at the end of the day, whether it's be selling it, refinancing it, or what have you, that's, you only owe the bank XYZ amount of money, and the rest is already coming back to you in terms of how much equity you have in that home. So you're not paying your mortgage. You're moving your money from your savings account or your checking account over into your equity account when you make a mortgage payment.
Excellent. Thank you.
Awesome, guys. All right, Curtis, have you concluded this portion?
Yeah,
Because-
if nobody else has any other questions, we can move on to the next slide.
Excellent, excellent. So what I want to do is I want to give Joy and I want to give Kristen and even Paula a chance to be the agent. I want them to go through this information so that they can get some experience with it and kind of work through any kinks or any questions that they would need to ask with the information too, okay?
And Jasmine, let me say this to you guys. Listen, when we do these trainings, again, it's just like the buyer's consultation. We're not doing them because it's good for our health. We're doing it because we want you guys to be extremely knowledgeable. And Jasmine and I, you know, came up with this thing a long time ago called fail fast. In other words, you're going to make mistakes. You're going to fail at things. Just do it real fast, get it over with so that you know how to do it the correct way the next time. And nobody even knew you failed. So if you ever stumbled and tripped, you just get up real fast and look around like, I didn't know, nothing happened, and keep moving. You don't want to lay there for a little while. So go ahead and make your mistakes here so that when you get out in the field in front of the customer, in front of your client, it's not that bad. You go ahead and make your mistakes here. And that Curtis said something, and I just want to say this to all of you ladies. Curtis has been with Porterhouse since the beginning, and he was a brand new agent. And Curtis, I don't think Curtis has missed but maybe a handful of trainings in all of the time that he's been here. And that's been a feather in his cap because Curtis has been the top agent for 2 or 3 years straight. And I think it's because he really gets into the trainings and he's involved, and he's always the first to raise his hand and jump in and volunteer. And that's why he has a wealth of knowledge and comfort. And he's made a lot of mistakes, and he's made them quick and got over. So I want you guys to be encouraged to jump in there and let your hair down, so to speak. Nobody's here to judge you. We're here to make sure that you got the information and you feel good about what you're saying.
Excellent. All right, so Joy, Curtis was the agent this past time. It's your turn. I want you guys to switch roles. And Joy, I want you to take us through this information. So Curtis is your buyer, and then Kristen, we're coming right to you.
Okay, so good afternoon, Mr. Curtis.
Good
Thank.
afternoon.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks. How about yourself?
I am well. I'm well. Just want to thank you for taking the time to go through this buyer's consultation. I think it will bring a great deal of information and answer a lot of questions that you have in regards to the process. I just want to make sure that you feel comfortable doing the process. And we try to address any concerns that you may have. So you ready to get started?
Absolutely.
Okay, sounds good. Next slide. I know I won't say that during the consultation.
No, you have to
No, you
go back.
ask me
Go
why I want
back,
to buy
Joy.
them.
You gotta ask the question.
Oh, got it. Okay.
That's
Okay.
over the slide right there. You
That's
gotta
why the
read that
slide is
question.
in front of me. Okay, got it. So
You don't want to know why I want to buy a home?
yeah, now I get it. I get it. Okay, so my
Okay,
friend,
that's good.
I wanted to ask you, so why do you want to buy a home?
Well, I want to buy a home because I got a whole bunch of kids and I'm in this small apartment. And because of COVID, I got to get out of here. I need some space. I'm tired of them running all over me. So I need a bigger home. And also I like to garden and I can't garden in my apartment.
Okay, sounds good. I definitely do understand the things that you've mentioned in regards to buying a home. And I think, not that I think, I know that purchasing a home will definitely be able to, you'll definitely be able to satisfy the not issues or concerns or the things that you have in regards to buying a home, and buying a home will definitely be able, I'm talking too much, so scratch all of that. But I definitely think that buying a home will satisfy the things that you've mentioned. So you ready to get started with our buyer's consultation?
Yeah, well, technically we're in the buyer consultation. So
Okay,
you want
so
to think of it as like just to take it off character from the
okay,
kids. It's like, you just here's, why do you want to buy a home? Now I'm going to give you the reasons of, hey, I want to buy a home because, I need a bigger house or I need this. Okay, those are all great reasons to buy a home. And now these are some of the benefits to home ownership is boom, improve your quality of life. It can blah, blah, blah. You're just going to kind of
segue into it.
right. And you can essentially read through the script. You just don't want to sound like number one, improve your quality of life. Number two, tax deductibility of mortgage interest. You kind of just like we're friends. You just flowing through and give me information.
Okay.
And keep in mind, Joy, that the slides are going to tell you what to do.
Yeah.
So you don't have to make it up. You don't have to be so verbose. And I'm gonna disagree with Curtis. You can say number one. If that's your comfort level, say number one, improve the quality of your life. That's what everybody that I talk to tells me. Some way, shape, or form, they want to improve the quality of life. Number two, well, you can actually do it that way and still be effective, but the slides are your guides. And if worse come to worse, just read the slides.
Okay.
There you go. So go ahead, go for it.
So I'm going to share with you a few reasons why you should buy a home.
Okay.
The first one would be that it will definitely improve your quality of life. You'll have tax deductions in regards to mortgage interest and property taxes.
Okay.
You will definitely be able to how the home that you'll be in will appreciate. Do you know what that means when I say appreciation potential of real estate?
No, I'm not sure about the appreciation aspect. What's that mean?
So basically, you'll be able to pay on your property and be able to use that money that you paid within your property to maybe use it for personal reasons. An example could be that, you paid your home cost $450,000, for an example,
Mm-hmm.
and you have paid $50,000 into that 450. So now, and the houses in that area are going for, let's say, 600,000 because the value has gone up. You have that money that you paid into plus the value of the difference between the two to be able to use for, maybe taking cash out of the property for maybe home improvements, college savings, if you, to pay for college for kids and things like that. So that is what a good example of what it means when people talk about their property has appreciated, which is always a good thing.
Yes.
Okay, can I interject right there, Joy?
Yes.
Okay, on the appreciation, the most important thing, just so it doesn't get, because you mixed a couple of things in there. But
Okay.
I want to specifically focus on appreciation. Just means the value is going to increase over time. That's it.
Okay.
That's all you're talking about. So basically, appreciation potential in real estate says that if you buy a piece of real estate now and just hold it, it's going to go up in value over time. And then if you want to sell it in 10 years, it's going to be worth far more than you bought it when you bought it 10 years ago. That's all appreciation means. That's it. That's it. And then also, I like to say this term, and I heard Kermon and a lot of people rephrase it, but I love it. It says, the old saying is, don't wait to buy real estate. Just buy real estate and then wait. It's going to appreciate in value. It's going to go up. But then I always say, now, if I go buy that, you can say you can say your handbag or something like that. You say, now if I go buy me a handbag and wear it for a little while and try to get some money off of it, it's probably not going to go up in value. It's going to probably go down. And I always say, whenever I go buy that car, as soon as I drive it off the lot, it depreciates. Real estate, as soon as you purchase it on the lot, appreciates. As soon as they add a lot to your community, your house values appreciate. So what I love, like in my community now, they just decided to build 19 new homes. I can't wait to see what the value of my property is going to go up as a result of these new homes being built. So appreciation only means the value has gone up over time. That's all it means.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. So Joy, when I was going through it from my perspective, that's why I mentioned the National Harbor.
Got it. Okay.
So these properties were around $400,000. Now they're $1 million. So they've appreciated. And I actually got that National Harbor, like nugget from Shay 4 years ago when I was sitting there watching him do buyer consultations. That's what he would, like National Harbor. Remember National Harbor? The properties there were like around 400. Now they're up $1 million. That's the appreciation.
And Joy, what I like to say, and I said I thought that was so expensive. $400,000 for a townhouse? Man, I wish I would have bought that townhouse back then. You know how much those houses are now? $1 million. I could have made $600,000. I get into it. So it's all appreciation is talking about the value of properties versus you buying it now. So that's creating a sense of urgency. So the psychology behind it is it creates a sense of urgency. Like, well, why are we sitting here talking? We need to get out there and give me a house. I need to buy it now for the value go up tomorrow. And that's what it is. That's all you want that button to push.
Okay.
So each one of these bullets, what we're giving you now is the surface level, but I can go deeper and deeper and deeper to each and every last one of those bullets.
Okay.
But this is the surface level. The main thing to remember is appreciation is the difference between depreciation and appreciation. Depreciation means it goes down, and appreciation means it's just going up in value once we buy. So buy today is going to go up tomorrow. That's all you want to say. You're trying to get them to buy a house. You don't want them to walk out a buyer's consultation and think they got time. You want them to feel like we need to get out there tomorrow.
Okay.
All right. So go ahead. Start with number 7 again. I mean, with appreciation. I'm sorry. What number is that? I can't see it on my phone.
Number 4.
Yeah, start with number 4. So You talked about the tax deductibility.
Okay, so let me get my thoughts together. So the next one would be, the value, the appreciation potential of real estate. Do you know what that means when I refer to
No,
the
I'm not
appreciation
sure,
of
but
real estate?
I'd love to hear about it.
Okay, so a good example I can give you. Do you remember when do you know about the National Harbor? Have you ever been?
Yes, I've actually been there and partied a few times at I think there's a Mexican restaurant. They have really good frozen pomegranate margaritas.
Oh, is that Mexicana Rosa? Is that it?
Yes,
Okay,
that's it.
yeah, I think I've been there as well. But what I wanted to ask you, by visiting there, do you remember the homes that were first built over there? I think they were around about $400,000.
I don't know the price, but yeah, I remember when it was freshly built. Yeah.
Do you know how much those condos are going for now?
No.
Guess what? They're going for around $1 million.
What?
Can you believe that?
$1 million?
I'm telling
That's
you, if
crazy.
I would have known what I know now, I would have purchased one of those condos back then. So
Wow.
that is a good example of appreciation. With the house, what they were selling for a few years ago versus what they're going for now. So the property has totally appreciated.
That's crazy. I need to buy a house.
Yes, hurry up because the value is definitely going up. So the next one is deferred capital gains and capital gain treatment. So basically, if you're single, you are able to exclude $250,000 off of that purchase.
No. When
It's
when
not
you
per.
sell, no, it's when you sell your house.
Okay, when you sell, you're able to. Oh, okay, that's right. When you
So
sell,
it's going right from you talking about appreciation. Well, if your house goes up, in value, you can make $500,000 off of your house. And then the deferred gains and capital gains treatment says that if you're single, you get the first 250,000 tax free.
So, question to you, Mr. Porter. So, does the transition, because this deferred gain and capital gain component is only it's not related to the buying, it's related to the selling, right? Am I thinking
It's,
about that right?
right. So the way it flows is you just talked about appreciation, right?
Okay.
So you told them, if I would have bought that house in 400, I would have been able to sell it at $1 million right now, and that was only 8 or 10 years ago.
Oh,
You see what I'm
okay.
saying? And if I
Okay.
sell it, if I would have sold that house, the deferred gains and capital gains treatment says that I would be able to keep the first 250,000. Are you married?
No.
Are you married, Joy?
No.
Okay. I would be able to keep the first 250,000. But if I find me a husband, we get the first $500,000 tax free when we sell our house.
So the appreciation component, I need to change the ending piece of it, not that the value is now $1 million. The value.
No, that's fine.
No, you're
No,
right.
you're right. That's
but I
fine.
just have to say, if I sell it,
But it's the whole idea,
Okay.
that you're trying to get them to see is that they don't lose in buying a house. Because even when they sell their house is going to
Gotcha.
appreciate in value just from them living in it. Then when it's time to sell it, if their house appreciates and has a great appreciation, they're going to be able to sell it for $1 million. And when they sell it for $1 million, they're going to be able to get 250,000 tax free if they're single, or $500,000 tax free if they're married. And then you say, isn't that great? It's just,
Okay.
yeah. So it all kind of flows together, but you got to see the picture. And that's what I want you, that's why we're doing this training. We want you to see the picture.
Okay.
And so that National Harbor example like sets this up beautifully, because like, hey, the property is around 400, boom, now they're $1 million. Wow. that's $600,000 of profit essentially if you were to sell. Number 5, the deferred gain and capital gain treatment. Hey, if you're single, you get up to $250,000. So out of that $600,000 that you were going to put in your pocket, $250,000 of that is tax deductible. You won't pay any tax on it. If you're married, $500,000. So you get $500,000 in your pocket with no tax on it. So it sets it boom, boom. Yeah.
Okay.
Does that make sense to you?
Yes, it does.
All
It
right, that's great. So go ahead, start with your appreciation. You don't have to go through the whole scenario. You can say, but now they're $1 million, and then go to the next one.
Okay, so now they're $1 million. And what that means is if you sell your home, Mr. Curtis, are you married or single?
I am married.
Okay, so let's start off with that and then we'll back into the single. So guess what? Since they're $1 million now, if you sell that home, if you sell your home now and it's $1 million, guess what? You will get $500,000 of that tax-free when you sell that property.
That's crazy. That's a lot of money without paying any tax on. That's amazing.
Absolutely. And I know you're married, but just to give you the benefit for single as well, if you were single, it would be $250.
Okay.
Okay. So, I mean,
So stay married, Curtis. Stay married.
oh, so stay married, Curtis. Okay.
Hey, honey, we're moving to National Harbor.
So the one thing I apologize, the one once in a lifetime exclusion, how do I explain that one?
You just say, and that's called a once in a lifetime exclusion.
Okay, so that segues into that.
Yeah, because
Right.
you can only do it once in a lifetime.
So you
Per property.
per property.
Per primary
Yes.
property, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So 4, 5, and 6 are kind of, that's
Mhm.
all in that one, I won't say spiel or that one, they just 4 sets up 5 and then 6 closes it out. You know what I mean? Like
Got
it's 4, 5, and 6 kind of all like harmoniously flow together.
Okay. So we're able to use this exclusion, and I'm sorry, I'm writing this down. You're
Mhm.
able
That's good.
Yeah, write it. Yeah.
this
That's good.
exclusion for every primary residence, right?
Right. So basically, once you sell that house, you collect that 500,000 tax free, and you buy a new house. That's your primary residence.
It
When you
starts.
sell that house, you can do it again.
Okay, got it.
But you can't now. Here's why it's called a once in a lifetime. You can't sell it. I mean, you can't have a primary residence, right? And then you get big time and go buy a beach house, and you say that's all. I'm gonna sell that one, and I'm gonna get the $500,000 tax deduction on that one. You're not gonna get that.
Because that's not your primary residence.
It's not your primary residence. It's only on your primary residence.
Got it. Okay, Mr. Curtis, do you have any questions so far?
No, everything's been excellent information that you've been providing.
Okay, sounds good. So the next one would be your principal accumulation. And what that talks about, or what that is in reference to, is basically paying down your principal as quickly as possible.
Okay.
Now, remember, Joy, you skipped over it in the beginning, but when I talk about the tax deductibility of mortgage interest and the tax deductibility of taxes, I want to say, well, let me tell you what the 4 things a mortgage is made up of. And I do that intentionally because then down here, I'm talking about principal and they don't know what I'm talking about. So if you get here and you haven't done that, then that's a good time to say, well, let me tell you, before I tell you what that means, let me tell you what a mortgage pays for. Each time you make that monthly payment, you're paying 4 things. You're paying the principal, the interest, the taxes, and insurance.
Okay.
And what principal accumulation says is make sure that if you ever have any extra money or if you want to round it up, tell them to put it towards the principal only.
Okay.
And then you can explain what it does, you know, It's called amortization, which literally means killing your mortgage.
Kill the mortgage.
Principal.
And the way you kill it is that you attack it at its heart. The heart of the mortgage is the principal.
Principal. Mhm.
Killing the mortgage.
Mhm. That's the word is amortization. AMMORTIZATION. And you can hear the word mort in there, which means mortgage. And mortgage really literally means death. But you don't need to tell people that.
Okay.
I mean, it's really mortgage means the time to kill it. You mean the amount of time that you need to pay this off or to kill this debt. So you hear that in there, but that's what an amortization is literally killing the mortgage itself.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm writing my notes down.
Hey, you know, I can show you too, Joy. Like, this is literally my buyer consultation. I would have this with me with Shay when he would do one, and I would follow along, or like trainings. So I mean, I can't stress enough, guys, like print out a copy of your buyer consultation, transfer those notes right to the section of reasons to buy a home. And then periodically through the day, or, you know, you just read through this, and what's going to happen, it's just going to stick more and more and more. And then when you're giving the actual buyer consultation and you get to this section, you'll just flow, you'll just roll. You know what I mean? In the beginning, it's just new information. So, you know, it's new. You just don't know it. You know what I mean? But the more repetition, it just becomes second nature. Just like anything you do now, you know, for your professional job or what have you, you know, you can sit there and just flow because you know it. So, you know, all these notes that you're taking, I highly recommend, because you're going to then see the presentation as you're going through it. You would have made the notes on that. So, you know, as soon as I see this, I'm National Harbor. You know, I'm going to bring up that story, you know. So take those notes that you're making, you know, go to Kinko's or whatever, you know, print them out at work, whatever you got to do. Just print the actual buyer consultation. You could even bind it and then transfer all of these notes from Thursday, what we're doing today, into these sections specifically. So it'll start to just resonate more and more for you when you're doing the actual, now it's live. Now, you know, it's go time and you're more prepared. It'll feel more comfortable and more natural.
You can tell that Curtis got a lot of money. You don't have to go to Kinko's. Go to Porterhouse. Go to your office and get your business cards while you're there, Joy. And you can use that copier machine and run that joker front and back, stable it together, and write in it. And if you want another copy, run it on that big copier until you get it right.
Hey,
that's all for you. There's all the stuff that's included in Porterhouse. Curtis Rich. You go to
that's from 4 years I'm holding.
Okay, that was before. That must have been before we got the copy.
We ain't have a copy.
Yeah, we didn't have a copy back then. Okay, Curtis. All right, I'll let you slide on that one.
You guys are awesome. Let's go ahead and transition. I want to give Kristen a chance to go ahead and do her role play as well. All right. So now,
give Joy
Kristen,
a big hand. Joy, you did a great job.
Joy, that was excellent. Great job. And so now, Kristen, you're going to be the agent, and Joy, you'll be the buyer.
Okay. Thanks, Joy. I took a lot of notes during yours.
You're welcome.
Okay, Joy, how are you today?
I am well. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for meeting with me. So the first thing I really want to know is, why do you want to buy a home?
Honestly, I'm just tired of paying rent and I need more space.
Okay. So I'm going to give you some real benefits or reasons why everyone should really buy a home. So you were talking about being over and tired of paying rent and needing more space. Well, buying a home will definitely improve your quality of life, right? We'll talk more about how rent is basically throwing away money, and home ownership will allow you to take that money and put it towards and build equity in your home. Okay. So a mortgage is made up of 4 things: your principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. And the
And
principal,
Kristen, good job. Now you can tell them to write that down. That's really important for them to kind of write it down,
the 4
because
things.
they'll know the 4 things, right?
Okay.
And it's going to help you, and you'll see how it'll help you as you move through.
Okay.
And then when you were transitioning, you did a great job. You mentioned the rent because she brought it up. And so it's a good thing. You say, well, that's good. I'm going to talk to you about the difference between rent versus mortgage. When you pay rent, you're just paying the landlord and you're just buying 30 more days. But when you're paying your mortgage, you're paying these 4 things. I want you to write this down. So you can kind of, you can parlay it into that, because you did right. You went to pity first, and that's great. So just so that you can have that transition, think about, you're trying to, especially if they're a renter, sometimes they are, sometimes they're not. You want to be able to help them to start to compare and contrast.
Okay. Okay, so
Improve the quality of life. Go start right there again.
okay, so improving your quality of life. So instead of paying $2,000 for rent each month, right? That $2,000, if you were paying your mortgage, it would be made up of 4 things. Okay, and I want you to write this down. So your mortgage is made up of your principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. And I'm going to break down what those components are. Your principal is simply the money that you borrowed from the bank to purchase your home. Of course, you have to pay interest on that money, right? Taxes, we all pay taxes. You're probably very familiar with what taxes are and how they work. And insurance is just a protection, right? So basically, the positive part about owning your own home is you have a tax, the interest and property taxes are tax deductible. So for example, basically 80% of the first 15 years of your mortgage, no. Let me just try that again. Hold on.
That was absolutely right. You're 100% right.
80%. No, I thought it was for the first 15 years of your mortgage, 80% of that money that you're paying towards your mortgage will go toward the mortgage interest and the taxes. That's right?
Yes,
Right?
that's correct.
Okay.
The only thing you can add is about, but that's correct. Perfect.
Okay. Oh, about. Okay. Approximately 80% of your first 15 years, the mortgage payment for your first 15 years is going towards interest and taxes. But the great part about that is it's tax deductible. So you will, if you don't owe any money to the government or to the government or the state every year, you get that money back. Another benefit is appreciation, right? Buying property, buying a home. Homes appreciate. I don't know about you, but I don't buy new cars because the second you drive them off the lot, they depreciate, right? Homes are different. Let's say you buy a home in a new community where they're adding great amenities and features. Well, that home, that property is going to appreciate over time, which means you will, the value of that home will increase. And that becomes your money. So another positive piece is, are you married, Joy?
No, I'm actually single.
Oh, you're single. Okay. Well, The positive part about this is once your home appreciates, let's say you buy a home for $300,000, and over time you were living in the home maybe 5 years, a lot of additions have been made to that particular community. Let's say it has appreciated in that time to $500,000, right? The positive part is when you go to sell your home, as long as it's your primary residence, because you're single, you will not pay taxes on the first $250,000 that you make, okay? Let's say you meet someone, get married, you will not pay taxes on the first $500,000 of that sale. Doesn't that sound great?
Oh, that's awesome, Miss Christian. I thank you. I didn't even know that that was available.
Yeah, and the great part about that is once you buy your next home, as long as it's your primary residence, the same capital gain treatment is given, as long as it's your primary residence. So let's say you buy a home, your next home when you're married, right? I'm not trying to push it, okay? Single's great too, okay? But the same thing applies, okay? As long as it's your primary residence. So that's definitely, in my opinion, one of the best reasons to buy a home, okay? Also, we talked about numbers 2 and 3 about the tax deductibility and the money that you will receive back and with your tax deductions from your interest and taxes. Remember that?
Yes.
Okay, so if you use that money that you receive back, it's like almost like not free money, but you've paid for it. But if you put that money towards your principal, remember the principal is one component of your mortgage, the part of the loan that you're paying off. You put that towards your principal, it helps you pay down or kill your mortgage, right? Helps you pay your mortgage down faster. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that does make sense, because you did say that the principal was the first, when you were explaining about the interest and the taxes, the principal was the first letter, the P, right?
Right. And that's the money you borrowed from the bank, right? So the faster you pay that down, the least amount of taxes you're going to pay on that money, as long as it's a fixed rate loan.
So is my interest lower too when I pay it down faster?
Yes, I think so. Is our interest lower too?
No. So your interest rate is what it is unless you refinance and get a lower interest rate. But you're not paying that 5% on 250,000 anymore. You're only paying it on what you owe. So it's not 5%. 5% of 250 is 5% of 230 or 5% of 200, which is significantly different.
I'm paying less interest over time.
No, you're paying
No.
your interest. See, I don't want to confuse you. The interest rate is what it is. So if you get a 3%, 5% interest rate, that's what it is, unless you refinance and get a lower interest rate. But the benefit of paying the principal is that that interest is not on the full amount. It's 5% of 250. So 5% on 250,000 might be $5,000 in interest. But 5% on 200,000, did I say that right?
Yes, to sum it up, just like Mr. Porter said, you're paying the same interest rate unless you refinance, but because you're paying down your principal more quickly, you're paying less overall interest over time. Same rate, less interest over time. Saves you tons of money.
Got it.
Okay.
But Kristen, when you get that question, say now you can give it to the answer that I just gave, which means no, the interest rate is what it's going to be unless you refinance, which is another thing that you can do in your house. You can refinance and actually get a lower interest rate, which means you'll get a lower monthly payment.
Got it.
You can't do that with your rent.
Right.
Got it. Okay.
Your rent is going to go up your mortgage should actually go down. You're in
Okay.
control. It's your house.
So the faster you pay down your principal, Joy, your interest rate will stay the same, but the more you pay down your principal, you're paying interest on less
Over
right?
time.
Over time.
Correct.
So that's the goal.
Okay.
You can also refinance and get a lower interest rate. So that way your interest rate will be lower, right? You're paying less.
And your monthly payment will.
Your monthly payment will be less. Okay.
Okay, sounds good.
And the great part about transitioning from a renter to a homeowner is you could really take pride in your home. Yes, we love our spaces that we rent, right? But you can make upgrades and you can add nice, touches to your home that your landlord might not have approved, right? So that's definitely a reason. And going back to that landlord piece, right? Not having a landlord will change everything, right? Especially when you have, I don't know about you, but in my experience with landlords, they want to do, bi-monthly walkthroughs, and they have certain stipulations on what you can do and can't do in the space that you're renting. They control whether or not you have a pet, right? So when you're when you own your own home, you're no longer having to follow those rules. Does that sound good?
Yes, that sounds awesome.
Great, it should. Okay, so where else? Okay, this is the one I need help with, number 10. How would you say 10?
Okay, remember leverage. That's the one I said you're getting a whole lot of something for a little bit of nothing. Right? So where else can you, let me see, I can see what it says. Where else can you buy this size of an investment for only 5 to 10% down? So basically that's where you talk about the big bag of money that Mike Cooper dropped off at the office. And he told me, you come bring the 10%, say for instance, if you had to bring 10% or 20% down, how does that sound? Well, most people are going to be freaking out. Well, let me put it to you this way. You got the mortgage right now of $250. Mike Cooper just brings me a bag of $230,000 in cash. He says, when you bring that other 20,000, give you the bag and let you go find your house. How soon can you get to my office?
Mm-hmm.
That, I can say it like that, but that's the way you want to think about it.
Okay.
So that's what that leverage means. Leverage means you're getting a whole lot of something for a little bit of skin, what we call in real estate skin in the game, or your little bit of money is not really affecting this transaction that you're going to reap all of those benefits of. And you can say that. You can say all of the benefits that I just talked to you about, you're going to get with only a 10% investment in yourself.
Okay. Okay. And last but not least, Joy, we spoke about this throughout this slide, but we, over time, the amount of money that you're paying to rent month to month can be applied to paying a mortgage and reaping all of these benefits. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. This was you definitely explained to me about a lot of things that I was not aware of. That definitely are more reasons why I should be purchasing a home.
Awesome. So let's get started.
And then you want to make sure that you say here's the real cost of renting. I don't know if you can see that one on the slide.
The real cost of renting. Yeah,
you can't really see it on the slide.
Okay, see it. Okay, yeah. So the real cost of renting is this, and this is what it says. If you only had I think it says a $700 rent, with a 3% cost of living increase over 10 years, you're going to give that landlord $110,000.
Yeah.
So can you imagine how much you've already given your
Right.
landlord? You've already bought a house
Got
for
it.
him. Let's do it for you this time.
And then you know you're paying more than $700 a month in rent.
You guys got it?
Yes.
Yep. Christian,
Good
that was
job.
awesome. You did a great job.
Thanks,
You
girl.
did.
Thank you for going first. You helped me.
Yeah, you were able to transition very well. So it was really good. It flowed really well on my end, you know, listening to you. It flowed really well.
Thank you.
You both did a great job there, so kudos. And thank you too for Curtis, for you being the guinea pig first, and Joy, you got through all the questions. And like Mr. Porter said, this is your safe space. So this is where you fail fast. There's nothing that you have to be nervous about. This is where you work through it. If you say, okay, well, how do I present this information? This is the space for you to do that, so that when you get in front of your buyers, you're a champion because you've already gotten the nerves out. So I want to encourage you guys to continue to role play in that vein. So whether you're doing it in the mirror, or you're calling your accountability partner, or both, or you call one of us and say, hey, I just need to, you know, hear how this sounds. A quick little tidbit. I'm sure that each of us, you have like voice memos on your phone. Do a voice memo. Do something so that you can see how you sound, and just keep working through it. Okay. Awesome job to both of you.
Or you can just call each other, because you
Yeah, sure.
I was
both did a
getting ready
great job.
to say
Right.
that.
And you
Yeah.
can, and I would like to see if you do call. Yeah, I would want to see if you do call each other, if you can remind each other of what those bullets are. And if you don't remember, then give us a call. Give Curtis a call. Give Jasmine a call. Give Mr. Porter a call. That way we can walk you through it again and again and again, as many times as it takes till you're very comfortable. And then what that does is, when you're out talking, you practice it on people without a buyer's consultation, just in general conversation.
Yeah, that's a good idea. We'll
And then
exchange
people,
information.
people,
Joy.
Yes, Christian. So we'll
and
be
people,
connecting.
yeah. And when you're doing that in general conversation at a cookout or whatever, people are just going to say, wow, I need to get your card. Well, I'm glad. Here, take a few.
You guys will be really surprised at the homeowners who don't know all of this information. Okay. Not only the homeowners, I would say probably 9 out of 10 agents don't know this information or know how to share this information. Okay. So always feel empowered with the information that you're being given, because now you can be a value added to somebody. We had a seller, I want to say it was last spring, she sold her home. She was working with one of our Realty pros. She was the sweetest person ever. I said, I really wish that we had the benefit of being her buyer's agent when she purchased the home, because she came to us to sell. And when we were talking to her about purchasing another home, she was like, she didn't want to purchase another home just yet. There were so many benefits that she wasn't aware of. So a lot of things she didn't take full advantage of, some things she didn't pay attention to. So this information up front is so essential. It's so essential for so many reasons. So kudos to you guys on that. All right. So I want to go ahead and end this video here, because we have a couple other things that will not take us very long to cover, but I want to make sure that the videos are not too long. So excellent job on those. I will go ahead and stop there so that we can begin the last and final segment.